To get further information, please refer to the EDX installation guide, specifically Chapter 6.4 Installation of Toolbox on Linux. Please note that the ECP endpoint must be running and accessible via MAQP protocol before the next steps. For installation of Toolbox on Unix server, it's necessary to have prepared the EDX Toolbox RPM file. Change the directory to the folder where the RPM is located and invoke rpm install command. The installation is finished. Default passwords can be used after the installation, but for security reasons, it's recommended to set custom ones. Change the directory to etc EDX Toolbox and run the configure password scripts. Select the desired form of user and technical passwords, which can be plain, hashed or encrypted. There are several passwords which need to be set. At first the administrator and then for other technical accounts. All the defined passwords will be stored to appropriate configuration files. In case that the EDX Toolbox is installed on the same server as the ECP endpoint, the configuration of initial ports need to be updated. Go to etc, systemd, system, EDX Toolbox and open env.conf. Update all the numbers of ports to some that differ from numbers of ports of ECP endpoint. Save the file. Before starting the application, the configuration needs to be updated. Go to etc, EDX Toolbox and open EDX Properties. Fill out all the necessary parameters. At first, the component code of Toolbox, which is the same as for its endpoint and code for existing EDX service catalog. Because the EDX Toolbox is installed on the same server as the ECP endpoint, the internal broker.amqp.port has to be changed, for example to number 6672. The keystore.jks will be replaced by the one from ECP endpoint due to the use of AMQPS, and therefore the keystore alias need to be changed on both places to the ECP module auth. It's also needed to configure the EDX user for access of ECP endpoint internal broker in case ECP endpoint is configured with secured AMQPS broker. In edx.properties, get or update the credentials for ecpbroker.out.user and ecpbroker.out.password. Save the file. After that, go to etc ECP endpoint and in user.properties define new toolbox user and password corresponding with credentials for edx.properties. Save the file. Open groups.properties of ECP endpoint and assign this new user to users group. Save the file. Now copy the auth keystore.jks from var, lib, ECP endpoint folder to the EDX Toolbox folder using cp command and replace the original keystore.jks. This is needed due to use of AMQPS protocol. Change the group and owner of keystore.jks to EDX Toolbox using chown command. The start of the application can be performed. In case that the service configuration has been changed, it's needed to use the systemctl daemon reload command. The application can be started, and that can be done using systemctl start EDX Toolbox command. Status can be verified by systemctl status EDX Toolbox command. Now it's possible to open the graphical user interface via web browser. The URL contains of the HTTPS, your server IP, and 9443 port. The loading process can take a few seconds. When the page is successfully loaded, it's possible to log in with the defined credentials, for example admin, and set password. As we can see, the installation has been successful, and it's possible to display the messages screen of the Toolbox. The version of EDX application is 1.9.0. The Toolbox is prepared.